live.
Going live.
Okay, it claims.
The live event will begin in 59 seconds.
Claims we're live.
Can they hear us?
They shouldn't.
Need to have this really intense, like, heartbeat. And a countdown going all epic.
Yeah.
Hey, it's live. Testing 1, 2, 3. There's someone's watching besides me. They can't hear us.
What?
That's really weird.
You're watching black screen.
We'll be live in a few moments.
Indeed.
I mean, we're technically live now. And based on everything I knew about this, you shouldn't be able to hear me. But here we are.
I don't hear anything.
It's a good thing we weren't saying anything embarrassing.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something embarrassing.
So anyways, about that rash.
Right. 100%.
Oh, it's dead.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's keep up the facade that nobody can hear us. And you guys ready to... It's 5:30. It's 5:31. We're late.
We are late.
Well, cancel the stream.
Yeah, everyone's probably left by now.
Dang it. All right, well, you ready for the riff intro?
Let's do it.
Are you guys ready for the riff intro?
I'm so ready.
How come I can't hear anybody responding?
Yeah, where are they all?
All right, let's do
Is
it.
anyone out there? Apparently not.
We're here.
Hello.
How's it going, guys? This is an experiment. We haven't been live. Actually, this channel has never been live, and the Riff Entertainment channel has not been live for a while. So we're going to be getting back in the swing, as it were.
Indeed.
Yes. So we hope you guys are all doing good. We are here today to do a listen through of the album Paramnesia, which was the debut album by our band AfterWinter. Now, of course, there are more members than just the three of us. There are actually 7 members in the band, but we will go ahead and introduce ourselves as we are your hosts today. My name is Luke Neely, and I am the lead guitarist and producer.
My name is Sam Neely, and I play the keyboard.
My name is James Riggs, and I play rhythm guitar.
Yeah. Go ahead and pull your mic up a little bit closer, too, I think. Just make sure everybody can see. You want to have that thing right in front of your mouth.
I'm also the newsman. That's a very important role.
I'm your news anchor for today.
Yes. Yeah. We'll be pointing out lots of fun stuff about this. So, in addition to, of course, having performed on the album, the three of us here were kind of the primary songwriters, I guess you could say, and story writers too. The three of us wrote the story. So all that just to say that when the album was in the writing stage, it was the three of us usually getting together once and even twice a week for a while, kind of determining the skeleton of the songs. Wouldn't you guys say that's correct?
Yeah, we demoed them all out and kind of wrote, like the bass, like, structure of the songs and, like, the riffs and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'll admit I look at this sort of thing a little bit weird. Like when somebody asks who wrote these songs, I prefer to say that AfterWinter wrote them, because to me, for example, was Eli there Eli is our drummer, by the way. Was Eli there while we were writing the songs? No, but he did write his drum part, and the song wouldn't be the song without that drum part.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so the same thing could be said for Sam and I's dad, who is the bass player, Dan. He wasn't there for most of the writing sessions, but he wrote his bass part. So for me, he helped write the song. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I would stress that we were kind of the primary songwriters, but every bit of this was really important. So we're gonna listen through the whole album and talk over it. So we're gonna be telling stories and things about our experiences or things, little cool things that we know about the album that maybe aren't public knowledge at the moment. Feel free to throw any questions into the comments if you want. We're kind of counting on what we're looking at to actually show us the comments. So if we don't respond, the intention is to respond to every single comment. So many apologies if we miss, if the program doesn't show us something and we don't see it.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so can you guys think of anything else to start?
I mean, not necessarily. It is crazy to think just how long it was ago when we started this. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The just going into the first track here, it's like, man, that like piano thing at the beginning, like that seems like prehistoric times. It's pretty crazy going back to that.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll now for anybody that isn't aware, and I would imagine most of the people watching the stream is aware, but for anybody that isn't, this album is very long. It is near to 2 hours. It's like 100 minutes or something like that, or a little bit more than that probably. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started, and we will continue to talk over top of it because it's gonna take a while.
Oh, yeah. Did you say the chat was supposed to show up on the computer?
I thought it was.
Okay.
Maybe we should order the pizza.
We will watch this.
Oh, okay, cool.
Respond.
Yeah, where's the pizza?
Okay. So we also have our dad, Dan, the bass player, in the YouTube comments as well. So I'm sure he will be throwing some stuff out there as well. So keep an eye on them comments. So yeah, you were just talking about this. Do you remember when we wrote this?
I mean, this was like early, wasn't it? Like kind of before the album even was what it was.
Yeah.
I remember being downstairs in the studio, I want to say, writing this.
Yep, for sure. This would have been 2019. What's that?
We did the album. COVID. Was this one?
Yeah. Yep.
I think so.
Because I remember us writing in the middle of when we were supposed to be not getting together. Right, we were still getting together every week when nobody was supposed to be going out of their house.
Yeah.
I think I might turn the music down just a hair more. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Dad said he still can't hear you talking, James. If you want to stick that mic like right in your face. I just turned you way up too, so we should be able to.
Right into Left 4 Dead. The
Yeah.
first track most people probably heard.
Yeah.
Because it's the only one we released, I think. Or no, Losing Myself too.
Right, yeah, a little bit before. This was the quote-unquote lead single. And that was hard. Do you guys remember the discussion of when Bill, who is the our contact at the label Rocks Records, said, okay, what's going to be the first single? We're like, oh, we don't know. None of these are really like singles.
Yeah. Like from a music perspective, I think there was multiple other ones that we would have been more leaning towards, but also considering like the nature of this album and its story and like theming and stuff, it's like it kind of just has to be the first song. Like it would be hard. Maybe second song. But
This run is insane.
oh yeah. I just remember it felt crazy when we were writing this because it seemed like we were working for so long before we got to a verse.
Yeah.
Like not only does it start with a decent sized instrumental section, but it's also just like complete insanity like the entire time. Like wasn't just something we easily whipped together in a second, despite it being pre even the singing starting.
Yeah. And this album was, I want to say, written entirely in order.
Yeah, I think so.
So that run was one of the first things we wrote. So I'd say it pretty clearly laid a groundwork for what this whole thing was going to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can't have it open with something like that and then never again happen.
Yeah.
Definitely occupied our time. A lot better thing to do during a lockdown than make a record.
Yes. Yes.
Of course, that was a very classic Sam moment of the album there.
Yeah.
When we first made the demo for this, we were thinking we wanted some sort of a keyboard solo there. So naturally, I just hit a note and then just started whammying it like crazy for like a little while, just so we remembered that there was supposed to be a keyboard solo there. And we heard these demos like so many times. I don't know about you guys, but I was so used to hearing that big squealy whammy keyboard note there that when we finally recorded the actual keyboard track, I was like, well, it pretty much has to start with this now. Like, I never intended that to actually be part of the solo, but
Right.
it pretty much just needs to be. I can't unhear it now.
Right. Exactly.
Anyone notice that the camera's like behind?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this I guess we should have also said before we started, this is a concept album. And not only is it a concept album, but it's very much like a metal Broadway musical. So it's not even just like, here's some songs where if you're paying attention it tells a story. The story is up front. This is almost like a musical movie or like a Broadway musical. The narrative is at the forefront, and the music is specifically designed to follow that narrative, no matter what it is. So that none of this was ever, hey James, what's a cool riff? It was always, okay, the next part has to be, it has to feel like this. What's something we can write that feels like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why our first like sessions getting together were basically to write the entire story. That way we could, have it all laid out, look at it and see, all right, yeah, so the next thing that happens in the story is this character runs down the sidewalk. So it's like, all right, what's a riff that fits the mood of this character running down the sidewalk? Like if there was a video element to all this, it theoretically could flow perfectly, like just like a movie.
Yeah.
It could be like layered right on top of each other.
100%, yeah. Oh, I did it by accident. I hate that saying 100% is a meme, because I actually say that a lot.
True dat. This chorus, the Left 4 Dead chorus, has got to be one of my favorite choruses of the whole thing.
Yeah. I always go for that as a songwriter, pretty much no matter what crazy stuff is happening. I want that chorus to be like a hook and like a catch.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I want it to be catchy. I want it to be something that could get stuck in somebody's head. And I know that that's something that people that don't like prog tend to attack. Prog doesn't have any hooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even heard people say that about this, which I vehemently disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just about all of these have a chorus that you could get stuck in your head.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, Left 4 Dead I think is one of the standouts. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't think prog forbids you from doing that by any means. There's a lot of prog bands that have very recognizable choruses.
Yes.
The solo is definitely another one that was very difficult, if I recall.
Yes.
At least when I was tracking it.
Can't have an AfterWinter album start and not have the classic Luke Sam duel.
Oh, yeah. I swear with all of our solos we've ever done together, I feel like it's just kind of an unspoken rule that they have to continuously outdo each other each time. It's like, when are we going to reach that peak where it's like, we can't actually do anything crazier than this?
Yeah.
I feel like we hit that peak multiple times, but then it's like, no, we always find some way to step it up another notch.
There's always something. Yeah.
I look back at like older solos, I'm like, man, that's child's play.
Literally, yeah. Yeah. We've got some opportunity on the second album. You know what I mean? There's to let everybody in on this too. So our second album is also pretty deep into production right now. We wasted no time and jumped right into the second album. Drums are done, rhythm guitars are done, bass is in progress, keyboard is going to start soon. And I usually wait to do any solos until you're in the middle of keyboards. That way we can kind of determine who's going to be doing what and where. So I think we've got some interesting opportunities for stuff on these new songs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're definitely not putting out the exact same thing for a second time, that's for sure.
We went for so long too, working on this, because even the writing for this took like a year and a half. Right, like the first year and a half or so of Paramnesia development was us writing the songs and the story and all of that. And so now when it came to writing the second album, it's very different. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to having vocals and lyrics for the second album songs, because we had that right from the get-go with Paramnesia. Because of the nature of following the story, we had to have lyrics usually first before there was music.
Yeah.
Right, and so I'm having trouble connecting to some of these newer ones at the moment because they don't have the same emotional, the emotional balance is different because it's a different kind of album, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's interesting. I knew how these songs were going to feel really early on, and it's not that way for the second album. I'm sure they're all going to be great, but like right now, there's nothing there, and it's hard to see what it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure.
Dad says the bass parts on the second album are going to be totally normal.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will be. Into losing myself, right?
Yes, this is track 3 here.
I like this one a good bit too. I don't know what it is about this one. Back on the topics about choruses, I wouldn't even say this song has my favorite chorus. I wouldn't say that, but for whatever reason, this is the one where the chorus gets stuck in my head the most, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Yeah.
Like all the time, all of a sudden, I'll just be thinking, losing myself. I'm just like, where did this song even come from?
I think it's kind of a very commercial chord progression and then lyric melody,
That could be.
or
Then.
vocal melody, I should say. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's a little more typical of what you'd expect to hear, maybe.
Mhm.
And so, yeah. We explore a tiny little Egyptian thing here.
Oh, yeah, I like that riff as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Egyptian ink, that one song on the new album's got that really Egyptian kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool one.
We are a fan of the Egyptian sounding stuff. Yeah. So one of the really cool things we knew about this really early on too was that we knew we wanted the lyrics of the songs to be the dialogue of the characters. Right, so this is what they're saying to themselves or what they're saying to each other, and so that required different singers for different characters. And it's funny how that shaped the way the band became, right? Like we have 2 vocalists now because of that,
Yeah.
whereas we probably would not have gone for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like that's a really cool idea as well. because that also opens the door as well for like different like possible secondary guest vocalists for if there were more albums like that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Once we get really famous, obviously we're gonna have Taylor Swift play a character on one of our future albums. That's our plan.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Your wife is a she.
We have the introduction of Jerry as Thomas as well in this song.
Absolutely.
Take a breath, remain calm.
I like this
Just start with your name.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. But I think that does lead to a really interesting dynamic, having like a literal conversation like happening through the lyrics of the song.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's like more simple along the lines of, you know, one line is one character's response and the next line is the other character's back and forth, but then there's also parts of the album where it's like a little like weirder, or it's like I feel like it's kind of like that in Glimpse in the Mirror a bit, where like how it lines up with each other.
Yeah. And this one, and maybe not quite so much in other spots, but definitely some. We also kind of explored that musically too, knowing okay, the other person's going to be singing here. What's their vibe? You know, how are they approaching this emotionally differently than the other person?
Yeah.
So it adds to a lot of really frantic music stuff because line by line, we're having to play something that makes sense to follow the last thing, but also kind of has that different flavor to it.
Yeah, like this person is worried about this, but then the person they're talking to is like trying to calm them about it. So like it's got to go frantic, calm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge like advantage to doing something like this. That kind of just like opens the door for types of things that you probably wouldn't normally write, like thinking it in a more normal sense.
Right. We also have, at this point in the album, we've had several introductions of recurring themes, which is something really neat that we hadn't really done too much of prior, but it works really well in a concept album. You know, like, for example, this character that Jerry is voicing, Thomas, has a theme, Thomas's theme, that you hear a lot. When he's saying something or when his presence is being indicated, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many neat, I don't know, of all the people that are watching this, if they've already listened to the album and they know, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's so many neat indications of things that are revealed later early. You know?
Right, yeah.
I'd love to point those out, but I also kind of don't want to
Yeah, for
do
sure.
spoilers.
Yeah, if you go in and really like figure out what themes are attached to what things and what characters, and pay attention to that, you'll definitely discover more things about the story than you may have at face value.
Right.
That's for sure. I went to, I don't know if I told you or not, but I went to actually print off the reoccurring themes, and it was 7 pages, I believe is what my printer said.
7 pages of it.
So, like,
Yes.
there's Easter eggs all over the thing. There's all kinds of, like, little secret things all over the place that you tie it all together, and you'll catch little bits and pieces of things. And it's 7 pages long.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So, like, if you, I guess if you're not really paying attention, you will miss those 7 pages.
Yeah.
Really easy. But,
I feel like stuff like that adds replayability, or yeah, I guess that's the right word, right?
Yeah.
Just because you know what happens in the story doesn't mean that you don't need to listen to it again. You're going to keep discovering new little things as long as you're paying attention.
Yeah. Like, I'm on the thing, and sometimes I notice little things still. When I was, I forgot about that.
definitely keeps it interesting.
Yeah. And Dad, by the way, Dad says this song, Connections, is his personal favorite.
Let me see that. It's definitely up there for me.
Yeah. This is another one that could have been a single, other than it, I think it just gives away a little bit too much story. And it's really long. It's like 9 minutes long.
Yeah, one of the longer ones. Yeah, I'm really proud of all the piano stuff on this one. I like all that stuff a lot.
Definitely. I don't remember, maybe you remember, one or even both of the big piano things is from the demo, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think it might be both.
It's
I
one
think
of those.
so.
And I love when this happens with bands, is like, there was some magic in the creation of it that couldn't really be replicated later, and we were like, you know what, what it sounded like before was fine.
Yeah,
Let's just leave that.
you know, for sure. Like, I kind of started out as just like yeah, I need to get something like put here, but then, you know, after it was actually starting to come together, it's like, actually, no, this is good.
Yeah.
All the different timing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You'll notice all sorts of weird timing all over the album. Purposely done on purpose. So that way it really hard for us to play.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a really cool Easter egg that I love about this song, and this would have been really cool because everybody would have seen it live if we had decided to perform this ever. But James and I and Dad are in different tunings here. I think you and Dad are in the same tuning, but right here you're in I'm in standard and you're in drop C, right? So I've got a standard 7-string, you're in drop C 6-string, Dad's playing a drop C 4-string bass. But then in the middle of the song, after the guitar solo, there's a big piano break, and we all switch. So then at the end of the song, I'm in drop C, and you're back to standard on the 7.
Yeah.
Which is a really neat thing. I'm sure that somebody else has done that before, but I've never heard of it. You know, 2 different guitar players being in 2 different tunings, and then switching in the middle of the song.
It's when you pass each other's guitars to each other.
Yeah. Your keyboard was in the same tuning the whole time, though.
Yeah, I did transpose it though for the second half of that.
I'm still on the 6 here. Solo.
This is a wild solo too.
Oh, yeah.
Worked on this one for a long time. Ooh, listen for the Star Wars Galactic Empire theme coming up here.
Wait, is it?
As another, right at the end of this, the bass. And I'm surprised you don't know this because you played it too.
Did I?
Here. Oh no, not here. So at the end of this next phrase, you'll hear that da 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 da. Listen to the bass specifically. Here it comes.
See, I was just saying that I learn new things when I listen to this on repeat.
I love that. There's a few things in there that are like that. There's a few other bits.
I love how long that run is. It's like the entire length of the piano.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've switched back to the 7.
Right. I might be wrong, but I think that was part of the reason we put a piano break here. That, and also story-wise, Riley is having another murder dream here.
Yeah.
So it all kind of lined up. That's like, okay, well, let's make sure this piano break is long enough that if we ever did this live, we would have time to switch guitars while you're doing that. You also did a sneaky key change in there.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
So the whole song has gone, I think, up a half step, I think. Or down.
I've always been a huge fan in like metal songs that have piano, of like piano like playing something like that's not too scary sounding, and then like the guitars hopping in and then like doing it again but like heavy. It kind of does that a little bit at the end of that. It's like da-na-na-na, da-na, I'll come in. I love that part.
I also like this. This is such a weird thing that, like, she's describing a really gruesome murder that she's seeing in a dream, and the music is kind of like,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure was intentional.
I'm not sure. Maybe we meant it to still be kind of like a little like weird and dreamy.
Yeah. That part is a big pain to play, as I'm sure most of you can
Yeah.
imagine. Well, there's a word you don't hear too often. Prescient. Yeah. I happened across that, I think. I might have been using an online thesaurus to search for shorter versions of phrases, you know what I mean? And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that word has something to do with a God-given gift.
See,
If something is prescient, then it was given to you by some sort of divine source. And that made sense for what she's calling this, because at this point she thinks God is giving her these dreams so she can stop the murders. Which I guess is kind of true. Depending on which ending you believe.
the story goes through a solid, 9 different versions of what you think is going on.
Yeah.
I'd say version 1 is, we have no idea. And then version 2 would be this one.
Yeah. I like how almost right away, Riley's like, my brother Thomas has mental issues. He's got schizophrenia. He's shown signs of multiple personality disorder. Something like that is happening with me now.
Yeah.
The very first thing is she goes to her, her brother, her best friend, roommate, and in this case, and is saying, "Do you think this is happening to me?" And he's like, "Nope, that's definitely not it." So I like that's dispelled a lot of the connection between Riley and Thomas. Is that, you know what I mean? He is always, he is always the first person she goes to, and then vice versa. They have this special thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they did this in the track where it just seems
Yeah.
like it continues on to the next track.
This is definitely one of the best transitions on the CD.
100%. It's a new song now.
Yeah, we're on to the next track.
I didn't see that coming. Oh, here comes you.
Yeah.
Again, thought to be the work of a serial killer, the public are now calling the Clockwork Killer. The Howelldale Police Department has refused to comment.
Your voice acting cameo on the album.
Yeah. If anybody wants to hire me as a voice actor, you know where I am.
He lives in this YouTube channel.
I can't remember what it was now, but I know when we were recording that, we wanted the news audio to still kind of faintly play in the background, but didn't really have a script written for that, so I just Googled news happening today and just clicked on a random article and then started speaking it. I'm not sure how well you can hear it, but who knows what I was talking about in there.
I feel like there was something about the California wildfires.
That could be. I could see that being around that point.
Because also this story takes place in the fictional city of Howelldale, California. So I think you intentionally searched California news.
That would make sense. I was listening to this album one day in the car with Lynn, who hadn't heard it yet, and there was a point while we were listening to it while driving, and they're like, "Oh, we on to the third song now," or I don't. And I'm just like, "Nah, we're on track 6." Our transitions are just so smooth throughout this, and they know that a lot of times the songs are very long with a lot of the kinds of stuff in this. Without looking, they had absolutely no idea exactly how many songs had passed. Just thought it was kind of funny.
Yes. This is, as far as a full song, this is our shortest song that we've ever written.
That's true.
Sleeping Torment and Purpose in Question are both shorter than this, but I would argue that those are not really songs.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because it was not intentional that this song is called Time Runs Short.
Yeah. Kind of ended up being ironic in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, time. We were writing that one. It's like, dang, we don't have very much time to write this. That's why we named it that. No, joking.
Yeah. This is also one of the few times that we had a working title that didn't end up being the title. When we started this song, the file was called Clockwork Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also why it kind of starts with that news article about it. But then it didn't feel right. That title didn't sum up what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we changed that.
Yeah.
How's it going, JLG Videos? Good to see you. That is Jesse, the drummer of Sweet Stage of Hell, by the way.
Oh, cool. I've said this a million times before, but also I do like the chorus of this one as well.
Yeah. The weird tuning thing continues through this song too, by the way, because of that transition, we were also thinking about if we ever had to perform this, we have to make sure that it's possible. So the way we're tuned at the end of Connection stays throughout this whole song. So this whole song, I'm in drop C and James is in standard, and Dad's in standard as well. We've continued in opposite tunings throughout the song because there wouldn't have been time for a guitar switch.
I see.
Which is another just interesting thing we decided to task ourselves with.
Yeah.
I know, Thomas, but we have to buy food or
Now
we'll
here's a
starve,
track
you know?
with a lot that could be said about it. Where to even begin with all of the facts of this track.
Oh my gosh. What is it? So this is the only full track on the album that is basically just dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
There is an AfterWinter song in this track, which is an Easter egg.
Yeah.
But we intentionally made this its own track just in case, we know that, and although we put this here for a reason and we want people to experience it as part of the album, it's an important part of the story, we also wanted to make this skippable, you know what I mean, for lack of a better term. For anybody who's just looking to hear the music, you can jump past this point if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you tried to save us.
Yeah, there's a song
Sorry?
playing over the overhead speakers of the grocery store that they are in currently, which just so happens to be an entire full-length song that you definitely don't hear the whole thing of.
Yep. But again, that was us. We wrote that song and we performed that song, and it is very much not what you would expect from an AfterWinter song.
I would absolutely love, like, someday for that song to get, like, released, like, in full.
Yes. I think we need to.
It's a very solid song.
Yeah.
You think we're going to come
Also, a voice cameo from Robert Enix, good friend of mine, worked with him at Whirlpool.
You think we want to be a part of your hate?
Voice guest appearance by Saria and Victor as well, right?
And Ren.
And
too.
Ren's in there too.
We're not part of the church.
And-
so we're
and
going to
Dennis.
your friend's wedding.
Oh yeah,
He's
and Dennis.
schizophrenic, and he's going to have
If
a
Right here.
Yeah, you could hear him in the background. Yeah, very special guest there. But Saria, my daughter, she is singing
Stay with me,
ABCs
Thomas.
in there somewhere
have to get you home.
in the midst of it all.
Yeah, they're hard to catch. Victor is like whining right at the very beginning. And then right at the end there, Ren laughs. And then, Saria is singing the ABCs in there. You also hear the infamous, if any of you have ever been to Eikenberry's here in Greenville, where we live, one of the doors, I think this doesn't happen anymore, though it used to, one of the doors made this really annoying noise when it opens. It's an automatic door. And that noise is also in that song.
Yeah.
Because I actually, to get the kind of ambience of a grocery store, walked around Eikenberry's with a cart with my phone held up recording.
Yeah, that's very, very authentic.
I was very disappointed when I went to Eikenberry's the other day and left through that door and it didn't make that noise.
And I don't know why they would fix that. They got to keep it historically accurate to this album. There's going to be a big plaque up there one day that's like, as featured in AfterWinter's Paramnesia. That's going to be on the sign.
Listen, you can hear the door go. Dad wants to know when that song is coming out.
Hopefully soon. Yeah. See, part of me wants to think if we released that song that people would be like, what the heck is this? Because it's like so different. But in all honesty, I mean, it'd probably just become our most popular song.
Yeah, that would figure too. Yeah.
Here's a song that's completely wacky the whole way through.
The whole thing. This is one of my favorite ones to play.
Oh yeah. This one was definitely one of my favorites. I think from the moment we finished it.
Yeah.
It's just got so many different like pieces. Like you could sit and talk about every individual like freaking line of this song.
Weird timing stuff for you.
Oh yeah.
love those keyboard bits.
Oh yeah. And of course, this part here.
This is a call back to the verse of Losing Myself.
More metal songs need a acoustic part like this in it.
Exactly. There's even an acoustic guitar solo coming up.
Yeah. And if you listen very, very closely, you'll hear the greatest part of the whole album is deep within the audio, which is my personal mariachi band.
This is also, and Dad can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is his favorite bass part on the album. Is
Oh dang, that's pretty cool. If you listen really closely, you'll hear there's a trumpet in there doing some stuff. There's some shakers and
fancy piano. There's a lot of stuff.
Doing I was doing like a salsa with it, wasn't I? Wasn't that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really bad for turning that down too, but I got so worried that it interrupted the feel because they're not in Mexico. They're not at Taco Bell. So like, why? And I got really paranoid that it was funny where funny didn't need to be.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's just quiet.
We'll do a remastered version someday, and then we'll turn it way up for that version.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, no, people might have been laughing and missing the lyrics for a second.
I love this right here. You're playing the Sleeping Torment thing.
Yeah.
And that was not intentional. That didn't enter the space of this until you recorded keyboard.
Yeah.
So it's completely by accident that the riff we wrote fits with the Sleeping Torment thing, and it also makes sense because we're going into another murder dream here.
Yeah, it totally fits.
This is our Metallica thrashy moment here.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely do that. We'll find a famous one.
Dad says let's find a famous mariachi band to cover the whole album. Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
That would be great.
We'll bring him out when we get to that part live. I love the whole building like aspect during this. Like it feels like it just gets more and more intense.
I do want to point out one of my favorite Easter eggy musical theme recurrences is coming up in the end here. There is, for a reason, a very tiny little bit of Thomas's theme, and it is so neat where it is and why it's there.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
That's still a part. That's one of those parts. If I'm ever listening to this one and forget about that coming up, that's like about enough to give me goosebumps when it starts.
Now, I also think like that whole section was riffs of yours, James, wasn't it?
All that?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. It seems like, because naturally, like, you know, James has a huge backlog of these awesome riffs that just build up. So every time we go to start, James just has this huge amount of like, look at all this cool stuff I've got.
Oh yeah.
So there are a lot of those where like a good like 50% of the song is us grabbing all the
Getting
pieces
through
that
it,
work. Yeah, grabbing all the pieces that work together. And anytime we're going for that feel, like you've just got the perfect thing for every time.
Oh yeah, I feel like you could take your entire backlog of riffs and just immediately have like an entire album's worth like that.
Okay,
And it would be good.
Sorry, that was the
Yeah,
Thomas
there
theme
was.
thing. Yeah. 100%. A lot of the end is that. I specifically recall, I think it's in some of the videos we took of the writing sessions too, where you would bring in a riff and say, what about this? And we would be like, that sounds like a boss battle. That's got to be at the end.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
like a lot
we saved a lot
the
of them.
end a lot of the end song is James riffs. And here's the where we take a break to play Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, for sure. Very Breath of the Wild-y chords. This is definitely this whole piano section at the beginning of this song is very mind-blowy to me that this made it into this album, because this is definitely by far the oldest thing of mine on this album. Way back, I think it was either 2016 or 2017. I was writing a piano ballad just for fun, and I don't even think I had stuff to record at that time, and so I was just taking like videos of myself recording like pieces, so I remembered it. And there was one that I really, really liked that I recorded, and I wanted to turn this into a full song for the longest time, but never did. And that is the part that is in this song. Like once this beginning part's done, it's like you can find some videos of me from nearly a decade ago playing this in my bedroom. This part here, yeah. But it's so awesome. That's another part that almost gives me goosebumps just from like the amount of time I was wanting to turn this into a real song, and then to hear it be realized like in a project like this.
Yeah.
Very, very meaningful to me.
And it fits the vibe of what's going on here really well too.
Oh yeah, straight up. It's like there was a reason why I wasn't able to confidently piece this into a full song for all these years. It's like it needed to wait that long so it could be on this.
Yes. What's up, Guy? Guy Barnes.
Hello.
One of our biggest fans. This guy, now Guy is not responsible for this album coming out, but let me tell you, of everybody that is a fan of AfterWinter and everybody that has supported the band, especially in the last few months of the album being completed and being mixed and all of that, Guy was sending me messages all the time, maybe weekly, maybe even more than that. What's going on with the album? Is it almost done? And genuinely, it was really nice. I know some people could find that kind of like, but I loved it because it was somebody cares about this. There is somebody who is not a member of the band and not related to any member of the band who is that excited for this to come out. And that felt really good, honestly.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the support.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to remember this for when we get to, I think it's in the next song, everything that you were just saying about your piano thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something of James's in the next one.
Yeah.
That's like that. That's, I would say, probably the oldest thing on the album.
Oh yeah, 'cause that's way older than that, right?
Yeah, and I feel very similarly about that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, James, as well, when we get there, that acoustic piece in the next song.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very old.
Very.
It was originally in an old song. I guess I won't bring that up, but I didn't like how it was arranged, so I withdrew the acoustic piece and thought it would never see the light of day.
Yeah.
And so I had it in my closet all this time until we got, and it just fit, and it fit perfectly too.
Yeah.
Along with the story,
Yep.
everything.
Yes. Yeah, when we get there, I want to definitely talk more about that. But yeah, I agree. How it suits the story is there isn't anything that could have been more perfect.
Yeah.
This is another chorus that I love.
Oh yeah, very unique one.
The only time it happens, too. This chorus never repeats within this song. It never repeats anywhere else on the album either.
Mm.
Speaking of acoustic pieces, on the new album, for the first time we actually have a classical guitar intro song. I don't know if it's just going to be an intro, right? Or
Yeah, I think so.
but it's still going to be.
Continuing to push the what you can do on a metal album.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a classical acoustical piece, and it's turning out to be pretty complicated to play actually so far. Very nicely arranged. I'm really liking how it's coming out.
Where'd you get that telephone sound effect?
It's one of the ringtones available on my phone. So that is literally me holding my phone up to a microphone.
Is there any sound effect that we used on this whole album that was just grabbed from like a free thing on the internet, or did we truly successfully like actually use something for every sound effect?
There is one, and it is the sound of the ambulance near the end.
I see.
And the only reason, well, of course, it would have been really hard anyway to know when an ambulance is going to go by with its siren on and record it.
Yeah.
But also, it's the same sound that's in Regression. And again, for a reason. It's the same ambulance.
I see. That would make sense.
So it made sense to pull that. But yes, everything else is completely, we made that sound. Even the gunshots are real gunshots that we recorded.
Yep. I think we could have just got two birds with one stone. We could have just shot like our leg or something when we were recording the gunshots, and then recorded the ambulance when it was coming in. I don't know why we didn't do that.
We should have thought of that. Dang it. Yeah.
Justin Pollitt, hello.
How's it going, man? Thank you for the compliment. Another guest vocal here from Harry Mills, our good friend Harry.
Yeah.
Killed it on this thing, and I'm legitimately. I say that about Harry a lot, but it's because I mean it. You know what I mean? This, as far as the voice acting and the vocals, Harry has never like been a part of a performing band. You know, he's just done the singing that your average person has done, and he does such a great job. He's also the lead vocalist of the band Sarvik, which again is not a performing thing. It's just something that me and Dad and him and Eli did. We put out an album last year as well, and Harry's just kills the whole thing. But he was a no-brainer for one of the smaller parts on this album because of just how good he did, and even the voice acting. I would say that he might be the most convincing voice actor out of everybody that's on this album.
Oh yeah, his stuff sounds really good.
Yeah.
I think absolutely deserving to be the vocalist with like the third most like main singing lines.
Yes. And I also love the character too. You know, that I think that was an intentional story thing, was that so Riley is a detective that works for the Howelldale Police Department, and Harry plays the chief of that police department, and they're friends. You know, he's not like that normal police sergeant who's just mean to everybody, and you know, she's under constant pressure to get stuff done because the sergeant wants it now.
Yeah.
I love this right here, that she comes to him and says, "It's me, I'm the one killing the people." And he's like, "No, you can't be. There's no way. I'm going to figure this out. It's not you."
Yeah.
And I love that dynamic.
Oh yeah. For sure. I feel like his voice just fits the character in general too.
I can picture it.
Like I can absolutely imagine like Harry like in that role.
100%.
Sure.
This is my other, I think, favorite song. This is the longest song on the album if you don't count the 32-minute epic finale.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
Yeah. This might be like in the running for just favorite moments of the entire album. Is this acoustic part right here?
Yeah. So this was, what, maybe 1998 or before?
Yeah, it was somewhere in there. Yeah.
Written. So this riff is as old as Sam.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I was still in diapers.
Yeah.
It was originally a piece of another song, but what do I say about that?
You're right, yeah. Wasn't coming together. And to be honest, because we don't really want to talk about it a whole bunch, but I know what song it was supposed to be a part of, and it wouldn't have worked. I'm really glad you took it back out of there, because it doesn't fit that song, I don't feel like.
I don't think either, and the way that it was sang over, it just didn't. I just wasn't feeling it. It just felt like it was wrong. So I was like, I'll pull this one out of the song and I'll save this one for later. And
That was definitely another very, very long, like, meant to be moment that it eventually ended up making its way onto this song.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, absolutely perfect. One of the best parts of the whole album.
Right. It encapsulates just the hopelessness that Riley is feeling at that moment. Feeling betrayed by herself even. You know what I mean? Just and I tear up sometimes if I'm critically listening to this and trying to experience it, and I'm not paying attention to any input from the world other than listening. I get upset when I hear that part, because it so perfectly captures that feeling of nothing will ever be okay again, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, yeah.
And that piece works so well here. Like, it's just, I'm glad that I was able to bring that. I never thought it would see the light of day, and here it is.
Yeah. So let's see what Justin's comment. I listened to the whole thing while I was working, and people saw I was getting concerned when the story was hitting its climax. Few people stopped me to ask if I was okay. Yeah.
Dang. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, like concept albums, I feel like is not something that, like, everybody is super familiar with, like the idea of concept albums in general. But I don't know, I've always felt like, for me at least, it's really easy to, like, lose yourself into a concept album. Maybe it's just the nature of you having headphones on, like, and just being able to, like, completely immerse yourself in it. That's really cool that you could immerse yourself to that level while listening to it.
I'm glad you connected to it like that, because that was 100% our intention.
No, yeah.
There's a riff that we've just recently passed that I want to talk about a little bit too.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. If we're thinking the same one.
Yes, I would bet so.
And
So
the solo's nice too, coming up.
100%. Yes, I love that solo. This piece was now Riley's kind of call out to God, right? So we wanted to keep that kind of like minor feel, because she still feels that same hopelessness, and we wanted to really show a vulnerable moment of her calling out to God and saying, "What is happening to me?" And then suddenly there's this like major key thing going on. It's still an A, but it's a major, and it's this really nice sounding thing, and it's an instrumental thing, and then suddenly it goes back to the minor thing, and then back to the major thing, which is a little jarring. But that was 100% intentional, because that was, to us as songwriters, that was God responding to her. And we wanted it to be this kind of like soothing, almost euphoric. We did not want to cast the voice of God.
Yeah.
Because and that's one of the little I don't want to say lessons, but what word am I searching for there? Like, one of the little things we wanted to put out there is like this. You hear Christians talk about the voice of God a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, at least from my personal experience, there has never been a voice saying English words into my ear.
Oh yeah.
And so we wanted to capture this feeling.
Yeah. No, I think that's like perfectly fitting. Like, if you notice like the jarring shift in the music right there, that like is very similar to how you would feel like God pushing you in like a certain direction. Yeah, no, I think that fits pretty perfectly.
Right. And I love too that, for the sake of our story, Riley misses that.
Yeah.
That's an important piece of that conversation, is because I think that happens in real life too. Riley is totally oblivious to that feeling. In fact, the second little piece is her chastising herself, because she mistakes this like kind of euphoric feeling that she has for her own brain trying to convince her that she's fine.
Yeah.
Which is why she's like, I don't remember the lyrics there, but so my fractured mind trying to convince me I didn't do this. She thinks that it's her own feelings, and it's not. And I really love that about that, because it happens, I think, so often in real life that if there is this feeling that you're getting, and it's the voice of God trying to nudge you in a direction, you can totally bypass that and not even realize it happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or mistake it for yourself telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Did we also pass over the nod to a song from outside of this album? That's I think we did.
Yes.
That's another one of my favorite parts of this song.
Right. Eagle-eared listeners may have caught that this voice here, which is me, is meant to be the character from our song Regression, which is not on this album. It was the first song we released.
Yeah.
He's just a regression guy.
Yeah.
That's his canon name. That's on his birth certificate.
Yeah. I named him Peter in the booklet, actually, which is also a nod.
Yeah, that's true too. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you guys remember when we were first devising the story? And I mean first. When we got together at your house and we're coming up with the genesis of the idea, we had two stand-in names for the two main characters. Do either of you remember what the stand-in names were? Because neither one of them made it to the final cut.
Was one of them Peter?
It was Pete.
Okay. Gosh.
Which was going to be Riley. Pete eventually became Riley.
Yeah.
But then Thomas had a different name too.
I'm drawing a blank as to what Thomas is.
Scott. Yeah, James
Hey.
got it. Yeah. I had totally forgotten about that too, but I rewatched a clip of us writing in the beginning recently, and we were talking. We kept saying Pete and Scott.
Interesting.
And that's really funny that we ended up changing that. So then it became Peter and Thomas, and then when we determined that we were going to have Magenica voice the main character, Peter got changed to Riley.
Yeah.
So then Peter became the name of the regression character after that. Dad was pushing really hard to name that character Reggie.
Well, for the
For
beast of regression.
Yeah.
Yes.
We should have gone with that.
No, for sure.
This is a crazy riff.
No.
Side note to that, I fairly often print out the tab for that riff for my students as a finger exercise.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there that have the tab for that intro. In fact, I bet Justin Pollitt, Justin was taking lessons for a while. I bet, Justin, that you have the tab for the intro of that song. So now that I guess the end of this song is when we reveal why the Stone Family Bible is important, right? But I want to point out another one of my favorite Easter eggs, and this was intentional when we were writing this, all the way back in Time Runs Short, when Riley is again coming to Thomas and saying, there's these numbers and I can't figure out what the deal is with the numbers. Thomas says, go look in the Bible. He literally tells her where to find the answer, which she doesn't figure out until this moment of the story.
That is pretty crazy.
I love
That's
that.
That's another thing that makes repeat listens of this good, is that you notice that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Oh, good. Justin says he's looking to pick lessons back up soon. Good. I'm looking forward to that. I always enjoy lessons where, when I'm saying stuff to people, I can tell they understand. I always worry that I'm speaking gibberish. So it's always nice to have. I enjoyed the lessons when you were here because I could tell. You whether or not you could execute it right away. You know what I mean? Which is, of course, the point of the lessons. You go home and you get better at the execution, but you understood immediately.
This song's definitely got one of my favorite sections of any of the songs coming up as well. Which I already, just from the demos, really loved. But when Dad added his bass part, that just made it 1,000 times better.
The song also has some leftovers from, oh boy, maybe I shouldn't have started this sentence. The song Regression was around for a long time and was intended to be for our previous band. And when we were beginning production on the album that never happened for that band, Regression was intended to be used for that, but we were going to edit it and add in this different middle section, and that obviously got taken back out, but the riffs from that got put, I think it's the riff you're talking about.
I think so.
The breakdown riff from this song.
Yeah. No, that totally jolts my memory, because I was literally gonna say that wasn't that part like one of the earlier things that we wrote, but I couldn't remember why that was. That totally makes sense.
It was gonna be in the middle of Regression, and thankfully we took it back out, because again it would have made the song not make any sense at all.
Oh yeah, totally. I can't imagine that in there now.
Yeah, no. It did not work. And I remember us thinking that at the time when we were doing it. Like, this feels shoved in here.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. This second chorus right here is a riff version that follows the same chord structure as the first chorus. So the chord structure is the same, but we're playing something different. Because we hate ourselves. That's
can't have it be simple.
Right. For a little while there, James and I were getting together and playing this album from front to finish. Yeah, I guess that's technically correct. I said it weird. But let me tell you that this is brain gymnastics.
Yeah, trying to remember all that.
Yeah, it's muscle memory on steroids.
Yeah.
Like, we've got, I think it's about like that thick of music.
Yeah.
You've got to memorize all of that to play from the beginning to the end. And you've got all these little minute, tiny little details.
This was the thing you were talking about, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, not only is it hard to remember, it's hard to play.
Yeah, for real.
Like, jeez.
Yeah, we definitely pushed the envelope on technicality.
Yeah.
I think that any guitar player that sits down with the songs or tab is going to be like, what in the world? Like, it's we took like structures, you know, fingering or whatever, and we pushed it to like the max, beyond the max. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, yeah, we were absolutely pushing our own limits at every moment. Justin says everything you write is hard to play. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's at least one of my personal hallmarks, and I imagine that it's the same for you guys too. Is just I like complicated music, and I like what it brings out of me when I'm trying to write complicated music. I want to push myself. You know, it's nice to be able to easily play stuff every once in a while, of course, but especially considering AfterWinter will almost definitely never perform live. This is where the pushing happens. We've got to go to the limit here because we might as well, you know? And that's the kind of music I enjoy listening to anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm so happy we just so happen to not be saying anything right there. I wish I could have pointed out beforehand. That harmony right there, almost all the harmonies on the album are me. 99% of the harmonies across the entire album are my voice. But right there, when Riley says the calling card of the murderer, suddenly the harmony is Jerry instead of me. Which is just another tiny little nod to what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I know that's one of Dad's favorite Easter eggs, too.
This is like epic keyboard here.
Yeah, this is definitely the singular piece of music that took by far the longest
Like
to
6
compose. Yeah, we were doing this. We were getting together every single week to work just on this intro for so long. Because, you know, it's just got so many different layers to it.
This is a
Remember hearing
full...
it going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so big sounding.
This is a full symphony orchestra.
Yeah, because we even, like, went in, right, and have, like, like every single like instrument that would be there, like in an actual orchestra, composed, you know, pieces for every single one of them.
And you recorded each individual one.
Yeah, all with the keyboard.
So this is like 100 audio tracks
Yeah.
of MIDI, and also they're panned. So we did this for regression, and we just used that same template, looked at a layout of what a real symphony orchestra looks like, and panned those instruments in the stereo field to be in the quote-unquote correct place.
Mm-hmm.
So it, as much as it can, because it does still sound a little computery, at least to me, being an overcritic, you know what I mean? But as much as it can, this sounds like a real symphony orchestra.
Yeah, for sure.
That's something I'm looking forward to continuing in anything we do in the future.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would be like an absolute dream to hear this played with like an actual orchestra on someday. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Have this
Oh,
like, right
no.
before we go on stage.
Yes. If there's a way to get frozen in full body goosebumps and just be stuck like that for the rest of your life, I think that would be me hearing this with a real symphony orchestra.
Especially going into this part here, going into the part from Left 4 Dead. I think that's like extra powerful. It's like comes full circle back to the beginning of the disc.
I'm curious if anybody that's not directly connected to the band, did any of you notice that this part right here is the chorus from Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to know. There was one day where I was listening to this album on the way home for work, and just something about just driving down the road. I had this like cranked to like the absolute max, and this song came on, and I got home like right in the middle of the piece, and I was like, I can't go inside. I gotta sit here and I gotta finish listening to it.
That's right.
I really wonder if anybody else walked by that I didn't notice and just saw me just in my car with this gigantic orchestra blaring, just sitting there peacefully.
Yes. This is the only song on the album that's completely drop C. The only time that me and James and Dad are all in drop C together. This and then the very beginning of disc 2. And then during the scene we all switch back to standard. Oh, now I don't remember. It's either during that, the orchestra thing in Missing Piece, or the orchestra thing at the beginning of Disc 2, where we drove to Taco Bell to buy a single
Yeah,
a single
one of
burrito.
the two. For sure.
We'd like to formally apologize to anybody who watched that whole video expecting something important to happen.
Yeah.
The Justin says, a question unrelated to the album, but still music. How does it feel when someone approaches you and plays something you wrote for you? That is super neat. That is a really special feeling, because again, kind of like we were talking about with Guy Barnes earlier, who was constantly wanting updates on the album because that's how excited he was about it coming out. It just means somebody cares a lot, and that's a good feeling, because I don't know about you guys, but when we're writing, I'm writing for me. You know what I mean? I'm not at all thinking of what do people want to hear. I want to write what I always wanted to hear, and because of that, it's extra special for me when somebody does care, because I wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean? I write this thinking I'll be totally okay if everybody else on Earth hates this, because I love it. So when somebody else cares enough about it to learn how to play it, that's really special, and I couldn't appreciate it enough.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, hearing it, even things just that you wrote being like recognized or like sang along to like by another person is just like a very, very good feeling. So I'm just like, of course the things that I write like mean like a lot to me, and it's like, man, that means something to somebody else too. It's like, that's insane to think about.
Yeah. I can honestly say that I really dislike live performance. I don't like doing it. I don't like really watching other people do it. It's not... something's wrong with me, I guess, because it doesn't seem like anybody else is like this. But one of the only times that I have ever felt that on-stage high that other musicians talk about is one of the times Right Way to Nowhere played at the Triangle, and during Mark of the Warrior, Andy held, or maybe Chelsea, one of them, held the mic out to the audience, and we packed that place. The whole place sings Mark of the Warrior. It was one of the only times in my life I've ever been like, this is great. And it's just that. It's such an overload of that feeling of like, these people care about this.
Yeah, definitely. It means a lot to me, honestly, for anybody who's even just sat down and just listened to this album, like, all the way through, like, front to back, like, regardless of whether they even liked it or not. Like, you know, it was just such a... Making this album's been such a huge part of, like, all of our lives for, like, so many years. That's, like, just anybody taking their time out of their day to check it out. It's just really, really cool.
Yes. 100%, yeah. It's such a strange thing to think of the chunk of our lives this took up, and I think James kind of touched on this earlier when we were talking about having done this during COVID. Like, just a really strange thought is that when we started writing this album, you and I didn't have kids.
Yeah, and when we finished it, I mean, my kid was about to turn 4 years old.
Yeah.
It's
Insane.
That's absolutely crazy to think about.
Okay. Oh, Justin says, I remember when Adam played something I wrote when we were trying to do sweet stage stuff, and it was like a high only topped by being a dad. Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely. This is a really weird guitar solo.
These kind of riffs, honestly, I love these types of riffs, like ending albums. Like when you have like the one thing that kind of like repeats and like builds and builds and builds. I feel like that's pretty fitting for a end of track one.
This. Like playing the whole riff while doing this. Was that your idea? Do you remember what was going through your head? Like, what made you think of that?
Thomas, we need to talk.
I guess
I don't.
the idea of like,
we do.
I don't know exactly. I'm just weird. I guess. Probably I was thinking, you know, I wanted to floppy notes, you know, like a whammy or something, like just floppy noting, and it worked.
Yeah, and then again, it fits the narrative because everything is like she's starting to feel like she's onto something, but everything is still completely uncertain.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Also, all the gunshots on this album were performed by our grandpa, Buzz Neely, who unfortunately passed away last year. But that was really cool to have him on recording, because he owned a bunch of guns. I mean, all sorts of different guns and stuff. And he jumped at that when I think it was Dad that asked him, like, "Hey, can we record some gunshots?" Or maybe I did. I don't remember. Somebody asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. When are you coming?" You know. So I took my laptop and one of these microphones, and also the MXL 990 mic out there, and he shot off a rifle and a handgun, and there's a little video of that in our making of chat somewhere. But really cool to not only to have that real sound effect. That's not just something we lifted off a website. We created that sound effect. But then to have our grandpa on the album too is really cool.
Yeah. Well, that's probably like the most special like cameo for sure for me.
Yeah. I pushed Magenica to redo those sound effects. That right there is me, even though it's supposed to be her character, and I hate that so
No, why would you
much.
say that? I'm never gonna unhear that now.
Also, did you hear like the chair kick?
Mm.
That's either this chair that I'm sitting in or the one James is sitting in. I'm not sure.
That's good.
Did I kill those people?
Weird sound effect. I missed. There's another comment by Justin here. He says, I learned a solo for Necrogoblicon and met the guitar player, and I was able to show him the video, and the dude just lit up. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. It is. It's genuinely, it means so much when people care that much about your stuff to learn it to that degree.
If there's ever a day where somebody sits down on like any of these instruments and were to just learn this entire album, that would be like the greatest thing ever. Like the amount of time that would take.
And this is kind of the crown jewel of the whole album, bringing it all together. Everything about this album is represented in disc 2, which is technically one like 32-ish minute track broken into 6 pieces. And this, when we started writing this, we didn't intend for it to be a double album, right? Like we suspected it might end up being that, but it wasn't the intention. So we knew when we reached the end of Missing Piece with how much story left we had to go compared to how many minutes were left available on the disc. Okay, we're gotta go big. We're gonna go big and go home because COVID.
Yeah.
This is what we do when we get locked down. We write big, giant masterpieces.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love this whole thing.
This is definitely the one where, lore-wise, it definitely all comes together. And you kind of finally get an idea of what's going on. Sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
So welcome back, Guy.
Yes, welcome back. Good to see you, man. You had to go for a bit. Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm pretty sure, by the way, that this stream will be available to watch after it is finished. So if anybody misses anything, you should be able to go back to our YouTube channel and find this video and watch any parts you've missed, if you want to. So also a big hello to anybody who is watching this in the future, and also a huge thank you for watching what I'm sure is a very, very long video.
Yeah. Hello to me when I inevitably get bored and rewatch this at some point. Hello.
Yes, same. It should be pretty soon, Guy. After we finish the stream, I think it usually only takes YouTube maybe an hour or so to get it back up available to watch. So shouldn't be too long. Yeah, this is another story-wise, another important moment, I think, that where Thomas is admitting to the murders, but also one important thing he says that I think some people have glossed over is, I'm not sick. By the way, I don't have schizophrenia. I don't have multiple personality. I'm a normal person, and I've been faking it my entire life for this.
Yeah, it's been like this. So he's believed that this is like has been his calling for like a long time. It just took time for him to enact it.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, again, based on how the ending of this album happens. To me, anyway, as the listener, you can choose whether or not you believe that. Mm-hmm. I think we left it open-ended enough to say, was he sick or not? Mm-hmm. And I really, once the ending plays, the secret track, once the thing's done, I kind of wanted to discuss some of the theories about what did or didn't happen with you guys. Curious about your take. But I think that's an important plot point for that. Question number 1, is Thomas sick?
Yeah, that's definitely a whole thing in and of itself.
This is also a callback riff from Unveiled.
Yeah.
But the tales are in a different order because we hate ourselves.
Yeah. If we played this live, we'd have to be one of those bands that has like sheet music up in front of us to remember all these things.
I do find it funny, though, that if somebody presented this album to Dream Theater and was like, could you guys learn this? They would just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. They'd be like, well, 70% of this is in 4/4 time. You noobs.
But thank you, Guy.
Yes, very much appreciated, Guy.
Yeah, honestly, like even just beyond the music itself, I feel like the story is definitely just one of the parts I'm most proud of, like, for this album.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of concept albums there where, like, I find the story, like, interesting, even if it's not, like, an album I listen to very often, or vice versa. There's plenty of concept albums that I just like the album, but I don't care all that much. Like, the story's kind of a little bit of an afterthought to me, but I feel like this is a story that I'm legitimately proud we were able to put together. To have full on like twists and turns and like characters, themes, and everything, all kind of like you're watching a movie.
Yeah. Yep. And I feel like it's, at least for the most part, it's really well thought out. It's not just like the obvious tropes.
Yeah.
Because it would be really, really easy to be like, oh, a concept album about a detective and it's a murder mystery? Wow. You know what I mean? But like, no, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of clues sprinkled throughout that if you were really diligent and really willing to listen to it over and over, you could find.
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff that we haven't even mentioned that we've passed right over.
I love this. This is considered the chorus of part 2,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so much more laid back, which is totally in Thomas's head.
Yeah.
You know, Thomas is describing this beautiful world that's going to happen after he massacres a whole church full of people.
Yeah.
And so it's such a horrible thing, but because he believes it's going to be great, the music...
Yeah. Yeah, like that kind of just adds a whole nother layer of like how messed up his line of thinking is, that he would betray it, and that nice, calm, ballady chorus would be completely fitting to his mind.
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, we reuse it, you know, later for different things as well. I could see this being put in a movie like in a rock opera thing, like Rock of Ages, but better. Yeah, 100%. Completely agree. We had intention of all of the spoken parts eventually being filmed. In fact, we even talked to Alex, the guy that did the Black Widow music video, about doing that. And everybody was super on board with it. Other than the fact that it would have cost a lot of money, it would have required actual acting too, rather than just voice acting, which is, of course, a whole different thing that's really hard to be good at, and would have looked extra dumb if they had been bad at it. And then the big thing, of course, the climax of the album is a church shooting. What church is going to let us film that?
Yeah. It would have to be like a completely fake, like, prop church.
Right. Again, a lot of money.
Yeah.
This is a neat keyboard solo.
Oh yeah. The that last part definitely has one of my favorite nods to a song outside of our own music.
Yes.
If
we pass it?
Yeah, we passed it just there. The if anybody has ever played the original Super Mario Brothers, you might recognize the part of the keyboard riff that happened in that last section. I wonder if there's, because like to me, like original Super Mario Brothers music is so embedded in my head that like I can't unhear that now. Like it like immediately triggers something in my head every time that comes on, and I'm curious if there's a single other person who had that same reaction when hearing that part.
100%. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know.
Hey, Tammy Hampton, how's it going? Hey. Hope you're feeling good. I know you've been having some health issues recently, so really hoping that you're doing good and getting all that stuff taken care of.
We have another little surprise coming too. When Juan, that whole deal.
Yeah.
We have a video coming for
The whole album.
the entire album.
Yep.
When you know, we love having lyric videos made by Juan at Lux Studios. He's done all of our stuff. Oh, and there's Bill. Bill from Rox Records.
Yeah.
Voice cameo.
Yep. Didn't he say too he had never done that before? He's never been on a CD that has been like through Rox Records.
Yep.
That's pretty cool to be the first person to do that.
But yes, very proud for that to be on ours, yeah. So yeah, when we thought which songs should we have Juan do lyric videos for this, we realized that we have the same issue as, okay, what's the lead single?
Mm-hmm.
None of these are singles, hey Juan, would you be okay with destroying several months of your life to do a lyric video for the entire album? And he said, oh God. I imagine, I don't know. I don't know. He said yes, that's the important part. All right, Tammy says she's feeling a lot better. Good. Yes, good to see you as well. Absolutely. Well, we're not seeing you, but good to see the things you're typing.
Do we have any idea when that might be coming out?
Soon.
That video?
Soon.
Cool.
Yes, I'm hoping to get that up soon. There's a couple things. We are in possession of the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
I want to mess with the audio a little bit because there's a couple of points where it clicks real hard when it switches over. And also, Juan very rightly charged us a lot of money for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not quite paid off. So I don't want to post it until he's paid off. That money is coming, Juan. It is coming.
Promise.
Yes.
You are going to be finished paid.
Yes. That was a massive amount of work. So honestly, huge shout out to Juan for even agreeing to do it, let alone actually doing a really, really fantastic job. We're really excited for you guys to see that.
We're getting closer to the climax here.
Yes, we are getting close to the time. I think just over 100 minutes, I think.
100 minutes of video coming your way soon.
Yeah. Yes. Almost 2 hours.
I'm hearing a lot of the very cool James riffs we were talking about earlier.
Yes. The boss battle riffs.
Yeah.
There's also one of my favorite sound effects coming up. When the police arrive at the church and they kick the door in. It's such a cool moment on this, which is coming up here. Which some of you, if you're in our making of chat, you may remember a video of me doing that, kicking this very door that's right behind us open, and that's the sound effect that's on here. Followed by the stomps from the song As Empires Fall.
I didn't even know that one.
Yeah, I couldn't get stomps I like, so it's the same. It's me and Savannah and Magenica and Seth stomping on the floor at the building.
That's pretty cool. Even the building ended up being on here.
This entire album is a blast. A lot of
Yes,
fun doing.
very much so. Here we are, Thomas. I've lost the word. Saying again the thing from the first part of this song. Saying it again. This is my purpose. This is why I'm here. Is to do this. To kill all these people.
Yeah.
Here, this is the sound effect right here. And again, just killer voice work from Harry there. Completely believable.
I think all the sound effects for the for this whole church scene turned out really good, especially with like the crowd and stuff coming up. Well, cool. Justin got the AfterWinter record, by the way.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah, we've got quite a few people with health issues. Guy, of course, has a lot of health issues, which he's getting a lot of help for. So we have a tight-knit community here. Actually, even Jerry, the vocalist that does Thomas on our album here, the vocalist in AfterWinter, I just realized that sounded really weird, is battling some really, really serious health issues right now. So we need to get a big prayer chain going.
Yeah.
We all need to get healthy and get the show back on the road. Oh yes, the coming back to the chorus from Glimpse in the Mirror here.
Yeah.
Tammy, I have not heard how Jerry's doing for a while now. I haven't had an update. The last thing I heard, he was being isolated and wasn't allowed to have visitors. Some new infection that was contagious. But as far as I know, things are starting to look positive. So definitely really hopeful and constant thoughts with Jerry. I'm hoping he's doing good.
So what was it like doing the screaming section there? Because
Oh, we missed it.
I in fact missed out on being a part of that one. I was not there for that.
It was very funny, honestly, because that's a strange thing to ask a room full of people to do.
Yeah, to just start screaming. Because that was just an actual whole crowd of people, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, we held a public event at the studio, and it had a I don't know, probably, what would you say, James, like 15 or 20 people probably, something like that. And yeah, we played them the audio of the gunfire, so they kind of had a frame of reference, and kind of told them, without giving too much away, what was happening in the story of the album, and said, okay, go scream, react how you would really react. Obviously, don't swear, which we had to make abundantly clear, because I think a lot of people probably would swear in that situation if they were being shot at. So obviously, for what this is for, don't do that. But and then we did it multiple times so that we could layer it up. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool. For example, another really good friend, Summer Putnam, and her kid Oliver were there at that. And Oliver is, well, I think he just turned 6, so he probably would have been almost 5 when we did that. And he was just hilarious the whole time. There was one point I happened to look. Oh, and here we're hearing that audio again. Here's James coming too. Love that.
That's a good part too.
Yes. At one point, I look out into the, everybody's screaming and freaking out, and Oliver has fallen backwards into Summer's arms and is doing this, and is going, "I've been shot! I've been shot!" which is just amazing.
If we were to ever turn this into an actual movie, we'd have to have him in the movie for sure.
Yeah. You can also hear his voice really clearly in the grocery store scene, side note too, right as it's ending. He says something, I'm not sure what it is, it just kind of sounds like, "Ah!" And that's Oliver. Guy says, "You guys are awesome. Hope you get out here so we can meet face to face." Yes, that would be awesome. Tell Bill to get you on a striper show at the Whiskey someday. There you go. Absolutely. But first, we would have to learn how to play our songs. Oh, what a stress.
This one was definitely one of the James riffs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like I remember this one coming up pretty early on in the recording process.
I think you're right. So we're kind of in the aftermath now, right? So the police have successfully stopped Thomas from killing anybody. That was really important for us too, story-wise, that despite the unlikely odds, considering that the character was just firing into a crowd of people, that nobody died.
Yeah.
People hurt, absolutely. People shot, definitely. People died, no. And that was a big point of interest for us for the positivity of the album. We're wanting to exhibit the positive work of God in certain situations, and so yes, it's unlikely that if somebody is firing into a crowd that nobody would get fatally wounded, but that was the influence of God in the situation for the story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that was part of the big point. If there are any messages within this, that was one of the big ones. Positive outcome.
Absolutely. Like Riley didn't go through, everything that she went through essentially for nothing, because she wasn't able to save anybody at all.
And even here, where Thomas kind of comes to his senses and realizes, I'm the one who's evil, I'm the one that needs to be taken out, and tries to kill himself, she saves him too.
Yep.
Nobody dies. And then as far as all of the deaths on earlier in the album, it's up to you whether those were real or not.
True.
going to assume that those actually happen.
Yeah.
Those are real, like so many have already done. But that's up for your conclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's our ambulance. And that was Summer that I was just talking about. Also, I must have talked over it, but our good buddy Dave Cruz is in that as well. And you hear him here. Do that right there. Where, and this actually wasn't intention. He ad-libbed that line. So I kind of described to him what he was doing in the situation. He's one of the paramedics in the ambulance, and he, I think I gave him a couple of ideas. But that right there, I'm right here, it's okay, I'm right here, buddy, stay with me, buddy. That was something that he came up with. And this wasn't the original intention, but I've since decided that the reason that one is really close to what we're hearing, it's like he's talking in your ear, he's saying that to Thomas, I decided. That Dave Cruz is the paramedic who was, Thomas got this horrible gunshot wound going up the side of his face. And I really like that idea, so it means more to me now when I think of that. I can picture Dave in a paramedic outfit standing over me and being like, it's all right, man, it's all right, I'm right here. And in an interesting way, too, it almost feels like if you want to add the influence of God into that situation, too, God speaking through somebody, it's okay, I'm right here.
Oh, yeah.
Victor's song.
Yes! Yeah, great point. So I wrote this in a sleep-deprived haze after my first son was born, and on a guitar that I had just bought, which is also a funny story. But I'm sitting there demoing it and trying so that I can show you guys whenever we end up writing. I'm trying to demo that crazy diddle-a-doo. And my mother-in-law, Savannah's mom, is sitting in the other room holding baby Victor. And I'm screwing that up. It's a complicated thing. I'm doing it over and over and over and over. And I have this vivid memory of playing it and screwing it up and stopping, and just hearing from the other room, and then repeatedly. It's one of my favorite. I'm glad you pointed that out, James. I had forgotten about that.
Dave Cruz, paramedic, has definitely been through a lot, though, because wasn't he also there for the kid in Regression?
Yeah, and Summer as well.
Yep.
Lots of recurring characters. Oh, I love this. So, coming back to the prayer from Imperfect Conviction, but now, Riley is praying for the situation that's happening and not just for kind of her own.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Eli texted me something I want to talk about here in a second. So I love that change now to this. And using the same music but with the distortion guitar now behind it, so we're continuing the feel of the song because the situation is still the same as what we were just hearing, but we're referencing this other thing and bringing it all in.
Yeah.
I love. Eli has an update on Jerry. So he is doing really good. He's in a rehab facility now. And he can have visitors, but he's sleeping a lot to rest. So absolutely great to hear. I'm glad Eli was able to get that to us. So Jerry is doing very good. That's good.
This whole ending sequence, I really like.
That.
Yeah.
That was another important lyrical moment for me. So we're coming back to the World Without Sin chorus. And always before it was when my work is complete. But then here at the end, Riley says, when God's work is complete. Different feeling there.
Yeah. I think this part that you wrote, the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
I think so.
I couldn't remember if that was something you wrote or if it was just something when I wasn't there. But I remember hearing that later after the fact and being like, ooh.
Yeah, that feels
so
like a me.
perfectly.
And of course, here, really wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Were you saying something, James? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah. Yeah, bringing it full circle back to Left 4 Dead here. Oh, the crescendo.
Yeah, I had almost forgotten about that.
We were so worried that we had overused that feature that we can make the horns and the violins go.
Yeah.
It's too perfect not to do though.
Oh yeah. This is definitely the part of the show where the confetti starts to fall from the ceiling.
This is another interesting idea of this being a metal Broadway musical, right? Because there's really nothing story-wise that necessitated this. But if it's a movie, the credits are rolling.
Yeah.
And if it's a Broadway musical, the cast is coming out and taking bows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and we're kind of revisiting some of the earlier themes, which is exactly what that sort of thing does in a Broadway musical. So it's interesting that we were, and that was on purpose. You know what I mean? We were. I've lost the word again. We were building this like that on purpose.
Yeah. This is kind of just where it all. We kind of forget about the story for a second. We just go all in on the big finale.
There was a James riff right there.
Well, is there any symbolism to the fact that this would end with the dream sequence playing again? Though?
Maybe.
Might be.
Yeah. I think you could definitely take from that. I love the big dive, the synth dive right there.
Oh yeah. For sure.
That was difficult to mix because the notes are way lower than anything else that's going on. The frequencies are lower than the bass drum, lower than the bass guitar. So every time we would get to the end of this and that stops, it feels like the bottom just drops out.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult to figure out how to not make that feel so jarring.
Mm-hmm.
Very anxiety.
Oh yeah.
Getting faster. Oh, Guy says he's gonna play it for a friend tonight. Hope he buys it. Yes.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. And Tammy says, sounds great. Thank you, Tammy.
It's always really interesting having new people hear this to see what kind of different ways people interpret things and what different things people pick up on.
Yes. So here's that God's Response theme again. So this is like a heavier version of what we were talking about back in Imperfect Conviction, which again I think is fitting that it ends the album.
Oh yeah.
This is also a piece that you and I wrote for something else way long ago.
Yeah, that's definitely another one that I was always sad to see never got used for anything. But yeah, as soon as we got to that part in the story, it's like, yeah, that'd be perfect for that.
Yes. And the good old chord. Got to get that A7 sus in there.
Oh yeah, that's the most fitting thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest or oldest in joke.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that could be the oldest thing that we contributed, at least the two of us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lore behind a suspended 7.
Yeah. You know what's really frustrating too is that that's technically not the correct name for that chord.
That's true.
Yeah. I called it that because I didn't know better back in the day when that in joke popped up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely A7 sus 4, not A sus 7.
Yeah.
Tammy says, I'm happy for you guys, and I'll see you sometime. Have a good night. Yes.
Goodbye, Tammy.
Yes. And Justin says, what's your opinion on the band Ghost being Christian musicians? I actually hadn't heard that. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, wait, we got a little more.
Again, please, call me Thomas.
Oh, we're speaking with Thomas today?
Yes, I've told you 100 times it's Thomas. You always speak with Thomas.
I see. Thomas, we'd like to speak with you again about the incident.
I suppose I don't have a choice.
Would you like to tell us about your wounds, Thomas? What happened to your leg?
My sister shot me.
Thomas, do you know why we're having these talks?
I'm sure it all goes into a police report or something.
Thomas, there were near to 100 witnesses, one of which was the sergeant of the Halladale police force. They have a fairly complete report of the incident. We talk so that we can work through your understanding of what happened. Please tell us again, what happened to your leg?
My sister shot me.
And where were you when this happened?
At our house.
And your head? What happened to your face?
I fell. Hit my head on the pavement.
You didn't try to take your own life?
My sister saved me.
Thomas, where were you when you tried to take your own life?
I was at home.
When did you go to the church, Thomas? Do you remember the church?
The police were there. They tried to stop me, but my sister, she saved me.
Thomas, take a deep breath and relax. It's important that you understand what you've told us today is not what you've told us in the past. In fact, nothing you've told us matches the police report at all. Every inconsistency centers around your sister.
Riley.
There's only one hope for rehabilitation, Thomas. We know you don't want to hear it. You must accept our message. Riley is not
Interesting.
Did any of you guys know that was there? That is on every copy. That's on the online version. It's on the CD. It's now we shortened the gap for this stream. It's like something like a minute past the end of Set in Stone. It's not on its own track. It's on the Set in Stone track.
They
Yeah.
did a really
I
good
definitely
job
did.
there, and Brittany did a tremendously great job at being the doctor there in that scene.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
both of them. That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's another recurring character from Regression as well. Brittany was also the therapist to the Regression character,
Yeah.
which is another interesting. Yeah. So, by the way, that was a lot of fun to record. James, I'm sure you remember that too. You and I recording the sound effects for that. Do you remember that? So we set up a card table in the waiting room here at the studio, and a couple of chairs and a bunch of microphones, and then I played the therapist and James played Thomas, and we weren't saying anything because the dialogue was already there. We were just fidgeting. So, for example, the sound of the door opening was me, and the chair pulling across when the therapist sits down was me, and then everything else, other than the notebook. When you hear the therapist writing, that is actually Brittany writing. But everything else, like there's little and that sort of thing, itching, that sort of moving around. You hear the chairs squeak a little bit. Just those tiny little touches, and that was me and James for that, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she did a really great job at being the therapist / whatever doctor.
Yeah. So funny Easter egg with that too. You hear her writing when he says something to her that's wrong, and she goes, and then you hear her writing a bunch of stuff.
No way, that makes me laugh sometimes.
Yeah. I don't. The notebook is around here somewhere, but she wrote, "This dude definitely crazy." That's what she's writing right there, which I just love.
I like to believe that is canon.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. But yeah, let's talk theories, because that final thing right there opens up so many questions about what really happened. And just to be clear, I think it was, and you guys can correct me if you feel differently about this, but I think it was the intention of us to you can ignore that end thing if you want. Like you
Yeah.
can take the events of the album literally,
Yeah, all face value, and it would make sense.
right, if you want to. And I think honestly you could even kind of justify that with that track still being in there. But it definitely points way more to different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that last track always, every time I hear it, it always paints the picture of like a psychiatrist in like a mental hospital or something.
Yeah.
And you know, you could, who exists?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause it definitely seems to lead you to believe that those were not the actions of two brothers, but rather one person. But even if you were to believe that, that definitely just opens like a million more questions. 'Cause it's just like, oh, would that mean that Thomas like was the detective and he was, committing these murders and also, you know, investigating himself? Or like, is that impossible? Like, was nobody the detective? Was every part that included detective work and all of that, was that, all in his head? Yeah, that's another possibility.
Yeah. Did any of the murders even happen at all? Was he in the psych ward pretty much the whole time?
Yeah, it could be this. Yeah, he's literally just in here, and he came up with this this whole thing.
Yeah.
It was all like a bad dream.
Right. Because I think
Or
that's the oh hi Magenica.
Hello.
Yes. That I think the biggest implication on there, of course, is now we left it vague and it cuts out before it says it, obviously, but I think it's pretty obvious that the intention is that the therapist says Riley isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, whether or not that is correct is totally up to the listener. That's why it cuts off.
Mm-hmm.
But if Riley isn't real, yeah, what does that mean? And I think maybe the prevailing theory is that Thomas absolutely has multiple personality disorder, and Riley is just one of the personalities. And I think that's also why he answers some of her questions wrong. He's got the events of what happened to who mixed up.
Yeah.
Why would he say my sister shot me? Absolutely. No, it was the other way around. If you take the events of the album literally, he shot her in the leg.
Yeah.
So why is that? And then when the therapist asks, where were you when that happens? He says, at home, which is where he shot her.
Yeah.
When she says, what happened to your head? He says, I fell. That didn't happen to him. It happened to Riley.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing. But then I think it's also interesting. There's a few other like little tidbits in that. Oh, and Dad's got a theory, and I want to read that too. There's a couple of other weird little tidbits about, do you remember the church? And he says, the police were there. They tried to stop me. My sister saved me. And again, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
The police did stop him. And the only thing Riley did was stop him from killing himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there was something else too. Oh, the therapist. The therapist never uses singular pronouns. And again, that's on purpose. Every time the therapist refers to herself, it's we or those sorts of things, which also kind of implies even the therapist might not be real.
Yeah.
And that's taking the theory to kind of an extreme, but I think it's pretty clear that Thomas does not think he's sick in this idea. None of this is canon. By the way, I'm spouting my own theories here. Thomas doesn't think he's sick, so it makes sense to me that some part of his body does know he's sick and is trying to tell him so.
Yeah, that could be too.
Which is also why the therapist says, you must accept our message, which is a weird thing for a therapist to say. You know?
I think another theory of my own that I like to think about too is like the implications of like thinking about like if Riley didn't exist, like what's real and what's not. Could that, if that is the truth, does that also put into question whether like Regression Guy is yet another personality
of
this guy as well?
Yeah. I think That's been in my mind. Now I'm curious, what, because I think I have some bits of evidence behind that. Do you?
Yeah, we might be thinking of the same thing, but there is one big piece of evidence that I think implicates that possibly, which is the background vocals. I feel like could lean towards that.
Yeah.
Which is just the fact that throughout most of the album, the harmonies to both Riley and Thomas are sung by the same voice who sings Regression Guy.
Yeah.
Like though it kind of like makes it seem as if those three voices are connected to each other in some way.
Yeah. And even like really specifically in the middle of Glimpse in the Mirror, when we cut down to that acoustic part, and it's Thomas and Riley singing about their sibling bond, a strengthened bond formed when we were young, and unyielding faith. But I'm singing in there too. It's three voices. Yeah. It's the two of them and me.
Yeah.
So why is
Yeah,
Regression Guy, which is honestly only because I wanted a harmony there, but but it created this interesting possible lore of why is Regression Guy's voice singing with Thomas and Riley about the sibling bond.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is a strong, which even comes back to regression, goes clear back to regression. Okay, so if this is one person with multiple personality disorder, who is real? Because the earliest canonical appearance of one of those characters is Regression. So is Regression Guy the only one who's real?
Yeah. His remorse was so strong that it
broke his brain.
Yeah. He was the kid who got hit.
Yeah.
He was the car.
He was the car.
No.
So I want to read Dad's. Dad's got a theory. He says Sergeant Orion is the only real character in the story. He is bored at his desk and having a fantasy of saving the church people and stopping the bad guy and saving the girl. Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Definitely a totally opposite take. Yeah. And then Guy Barnes here says Ghost said, we aren't a Christian band. Everyone in the band has different beliefs, some Christian and some not. You guys are. That's all that matters. Yeah. I think there's a lot of bands like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an interesting theory, no matter what. Absolutely. Yeah, I like the idea too of, because naturally, whenever you do a concept album, like the main question you get asked is when are you doing part 2? Is your next album going to be the sequel? You know what I mean? Like I've been asked that several times, and I'm not super into the idea of doing a sequel, but one thing that does kind of interest my mind is exploring all of these theories. If Sergeant Orion was the only one who was real, what really happened? Did any of the murders happen? Did the church happen? If Thomas is the only one he was real, but he was in the psych ward for most of it, again, what happened? Did the church really happen? Why is he injured? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because he's really injured. So all these things. So I like the idea of a sequel being like the if we as a band ever landed on what actually happened, what really happened as a sequel. But then again, if, say, for example, we were to choose Thomas is the main personality, he was in a psych ward. We actually talked about this one time, is why it feels a little more thought out. He was in a psych ward for most of the album. He stages an escape with him and a couple of other people, holes up in a church for the night, and then the next morning is the Sunday service, and he ends up holding them up. Not because he thinks it's his mission to kill all of them, but because he's an escaped convict.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no other way out of there. And so then everything at the church, except Riley's presence, really did happen. The police show up, take him back to the psych ward. So if we made that into an album, it's a pretty boring story except for the end. You know?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that could give a possible explanation to, the therapist, like at the end. Because if none of this really happened, then it's like, what incident was she referring to, like, in her questioning?
Right.
But yeah, no, you could make full on like entire videos about like individual theories about this.
That's a whole YouTube series right there. Yes.
Like I definitely have my individual things that I like lean towards with like different things, but very different from different people.
So I guess the question is, what is paramnesia for you? You know,
Yeah.
what what do you draw from it? Your conclusion and your theory, because everybody can pretty much come up with different conclusions. They're different theories. So what is paramnesia for you?
Yeah.
You know, what do you get out of it?
Yeah, I'm very interested in hearing like different people's like initial gut reactions with the story and like what they
actually happened.
Yeah, very interesting. I know one of my friends, him and his brother were listening to this for the very first time, and they were pretty like dead set the entire thing that there was gonna be a big plot twist at the end that Thomas wasn't real, and that was gonna be like the big plot twist. And then they said they were pretty blindsided when it was like, oh my gosh, was it the other way around? Like what we were thinking the whole thing.
That's good. Because that was another thing that I was nervous about. I don't know about you guys, but during the development of this, I had a real fear because we had two pretty substantial twists in the album, right? Twist number one is Riley killed all those people. She's the murderer. And then twist number two is, actually, no, Thomas is the murderer, and he killed all those people. And then, honestly, yeah, twist number three, Thomas is the only one who's even real. Riley's not even real. Did we make it too obvious? That was a huge worry for me throughout all of this is, are people just going to be like, basically as soon as the album starts and these characters are introduced, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, no, the brother, and they mention he has mental health issues. Well, obviously one of them isn't real. And then it's going to turn out that Riley is the murderer. That's it, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, I really, there were a few times, there are a few people that heard this album in demo form long before any real tracking started on it. Ironically, Magenica was one of them. Before she had joined the band, she heard most of the album in demo form, and the purpose of that was, I want you to tell me what you think is happening in the story, just so that we can make sure we didn't make it too obvious, you know?
Yeah.
And this felt really good too. Good friend Will Yoder, who's a bass player in a local band around here called Camarillo, or Camarillo. I'm not sure. I think it's Camarillo actually. And played with him in a long time with a band called Gyrus and a band called Kings of East. He and I collaborated a lot. He was another one that came over and listened to the completed demo of the album. Which, by the way, we over-demo. I mean, we hard over-demo. The demo of this thing is recognizably this album. Very much so. Fake drums that are fairly close to what Eli played. Definitely not exact. The guitars demoed by me and James. A lot of your keyboard parts, especially the important parts like the connection stuff. And then me singing the whole thing. With, I'm going to say 99% of the vocals that ended up being there. And again, the purpose of this was I brought him over and gave him the lyric book and we listened to it. And after each song we would stop and I would say, okay, what do you think is going on in the story? And I just loved his reaction when Left 4 Dead ended. It's the first, I let Sleeping Torment and Left 4 Dead play. Stopped it and said, okay, so what do you think is going on in the story? And he's literally sitting back in the chair with his mouth hanging open, staring at the computer. And he's like, dude, I am so sorry. You're probably going to have to play that from the beginning again. I'm trying to pay attention to the story, but I am just so blown away with what you guys have achieved. And I was like, that's that's really cool. I really appreciated that.
For sure.
That like the musicality of even just the demo was I forgot the bass. The bass was in there. Dad had demoed all the bass parts, so the bass parts were in there too.
Yeah.
Which I imagine was part of what was blowing Will's mind, being a bass player himself.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine any bass player that listens to this stuff is going, what is that guy doing? Because Dad's bass parts are always so interesting. It's never what you expect it to be. But yeah, that's it was so cool that he was like, I know we were supposed to pay attention to the story, but this is just so, my brain is being activated by all these different things, and I can't just focus on this, Yeah.
I've always found it like a very important factor of concept albums. Like, while you know, obviously, like, listening to it and, like, paying attention to all the different details of it, you know, from front to back is, like, the way it's intended to be listened to. I feel like at the same time, it's still important that, like, you know, the music is also still just good music and
Yeah.
something that can be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, regardless of, like, how you, like, want to enjoy it.
Right.
And I feel like we achieved that.
Yeah, I agree. I think other than the lyrics, which obviously if you just jumped in and heard, say, Unveiled, would make no sense.
Yeah.
And you would wonder what the heck is going on. Aside from that, Unveiled by itself is a really good song. And I think you could say that about any of them.
Yeah.
You could take them out, and other than the fact that the lyrics won't make sense, everything about it is a good song. The music is good. The keyboard is amazing. The guitars are crazy. The bass is crazy. The drums are awesome. The vocal melodies are engaging and catchy and interesting, and where the harmonies are and what they do is cool. Literally everything other than the fact that the lyrics are intrinsically tied to the story.
Yeah. Like, you're definitely missing something with that for sure.
Yeah.
And
I would do
still.
that again, to be honest. I think my intention for AfterWinter when we first started was that all of our albums would be concept albums. And in this vein, I am, at least personally, no longer satisfied with a concept album, say, the way Storm of Even Sun is. I love Storm of Even Sun. By the way, this is an album that I recorded years ago. So me and Justin Kaiser created this in a band called Right Way to Nowhere years ago. Like 15 years ago almost. And I love that album, and I love every song, and I think it's a masterpiece. But as far as the story part of it, it almost doesn't tell a story. You know? It's near to unintelligible what is going on in the story. And I don't want to do that ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I would, if we do more concept albums, and I think we probably will, I think they're going to be like Paramnesia, as far as the lyrics being the dialogue of the characters, and it being, the story isn't a background element. You know what I mean? You are meant to go on a ride with the characters of the story.
Yeah, for sure.
Having said that, the second album is not a concept album.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be curious too, and maybe this is just something more for you guys to think about, everybody that's watching now too. I'd be also really curious about what are some of the messages that you took. You know what I mean? It's obviously that was one of the first questions we asked ourselves too when we were thinking about what should our story be. Like, okay, well, what is the point we're trying to get across was one of the first questions, you know what I mean? And I think we also managed several, like, smaller little, how to put it out there, just, you know, bits of things that we believe, and I think there are lots of things like that on this album. You know what I mean? And I'd be curious what kinds of messages all of you guys got from it. But I'm also curious about you guys. Can either of you think of any specific, like, messages that are on the album that the story kind of presents?
Don't kill people.
Don't kill people. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting to know of what people have taken from it.
Yeah. Justin says, the Right Way album told a story I was able to follow, but then again, I probably projected my own thoughts to it after playing it on repeat for a long time. Yeah. Magenica says, my main takeaway is that I hate voice acting. Yeah, there were some pretty funny moments with her recording where she was worried she would never be able to listen to the album because she was too embarrassed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true though with Justin. That's definitely something I do with concept albums a lot. Like when I don't quite understand like exactly what's going on, I constantly kind of piece my own ideas like into it and kind of almost sometimes like make my own story.
Yeah.
Like based on it. And it's interesting with this album. I don't know if I've ever quite heard a concept album that's like this much like watching a movie where like I feel like you can tell like what's going on
Right.
and like follow it like a story. Which, you know, there's probably these other concept albums that I'd feel the same way about, but at least of the ones that I've heard, I feel like I've never seen one quite take it to that level.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, speaking of that, one of the big influences for me with this and that style of concept album was The Astonishing.
Oh, yeah.
Dream Theater's The Astonishing is very similar in the way it is laid out as far as being kind of like a Broadway musical,
Mm-hmm.
and the lyrics being dialogue between characters, although they did just have their singer do every voice, which worked sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But that album, which is ironically like kind of generally hated by a lot of Dream Theater fans, was a huge game changer for me, in that hearing music put out in the way that was produced and the way that concept was presented. I'm quite certain that any influence that I had on Paramnesia would not have happened if not for that album.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I can confidently say. Having said that, I do think we did a better job of finishing our story than they did
Yeah.
on theirs. I really dislike the ending of that album, musically and story-wise.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
How long is disc 2?
On ours, it's 3209 or something like that.
So basically, disc 2 is 3209. One song.
One song, yeah.
Yeah.
32 minutes long.
Yeah.
A lot of bands' full albums aren't that long.
Yeah. Every time somebody asks, is this going to be on vinyl, I was like, well, that one song would fill up a single vinyl. So,
True.
so sure, if Bill will make us a 7 vinyl set for the one album, we might get this. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of really interesting things about this. And I would like for you guys to kind of expand on this with your own thoughts. And I hope I don't just steal everybody's thoughts with what I'm about to say, because I have a feeling we feel similarly about this. This is, for me, the standout album so far. This is the new bar for which everything has to reach. This is, if anybody said, what have you done with your musical career recently that means something, this is the first thing I'm going to point to as a representation of who I am in music. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I would definitely say I feel the same way for sure.
It's definitely the most I've ever done. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a musical monster.
Yeah. I feel like it covers like a very wide spectrum of like the things like I am capable of, like skill wise and creatively wise, like more than any other like singular thing like I've ever done before.
Yeah.
I remember after we were done with this, it opened up so many different other doors of playing. Like I don't know how to say it. I guess it improved my skills.
Yeah. I think for everybody, there was no choice.
Oh, yeah.
It pushed me to do things that your fingers just don't naturally want to do.
Yeah. I feel like the whole thing too kind of just feels like almost just like an embodiment like of just like our lives like over the last like 5 years too. Like obviously it's like a fictional like made up story that doesn't have anything like to do with us, but just like having been working on this for so long, like this album was kind of like the soundtracks of our lives for like a long time.
For a really important, at least for you and I especially, I can't speak for anybody else of course, but for a really important transitional period of our lives.
Yeah.
This was tied to that.
I feel like anybody who like listens to this like in a way like you're kind of like stepping into my life like some like, and I would assume even more so with you having like recorded it and like mixed it and everything. I'm sure you've heard it more times than any of the rest of us combined probably.
And thank God too that either I'm super arrogant or I just really like the stuff that we do, because the number of times, and I still enjoy listening to it. You know what I mean? I still really enjoy diving into this and experiencing it, despite being there for literally every moment of its creation, and having to mix it and listen to it a million times. You know what I mean? This people used to make fun of me, even at Whirlpool, for listening to my own music. People didn't understand it. I hate my own stuff. Why would you ever? That seems kind of like cocky that you listen to yourself. What? No. I don't. This is, at least for me, all my favorite parts of all my favorite bands in one thing. Why wouldn't this be my favorite thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it is. I like it that much. And also on top of that, the things that you guys added, you know what I mean? 'Cause that's the whole point of collaboration or having multiple people in a band. Because obviously, you know, I put out Reclamation this year too. I can do a whole album myself, so why not just keep doing that? And it's because of the things, the flavors that everybody added to this that makes it what it is. You know, it made it special. I could never have done that. I could have done something like that, but I could never have done that without the specific 7 people that did it.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes it really special, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I definitely wouldn't change, like, anything at all, like, in that regard. Like, absolutely every single person in this band has, like, so many things that they did, like, on this album that I just, like, super love that I never would have thought to do, like, on my own.
Yes.
Like, ever. Yeah, that does add a lot of specialness to it.
And I think, like, for any musicians, you know, if like a challenge.
Yeah.
This one will definitely do it if you're into trying to learn and push your limits and grow your skills. This one is definitely one you can use to sharpen your skills with. That's for sure.
Good Lord, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's. There's a few more comments we got. Let's see. Justin says, Death Clock did a similar thing with Doomstar. It wasn't really a concept album more than a musical, but all the words in the movie were sung. Even the characters Mark Hamill voiced. Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. And Guy Barnes agrees about all the stuff we talked about with the Astonishing. Magenica says, well, I don't particularly feel the same way just because I don't view myself as a vocalist. It's still a huge thing that I'm proud of, though. Yeah, absolutely. Magenica is a multi-instrumentalist. Magenica can effectively play guitar, bass, drums, obviously drums. Anybody that knows some more of our history knows that Magenica is an absolutely phenomenal drummer. So, absolutely. Guy says, I have to go. I'll listen to the whole thing later. Love you guys. Yes, Guy, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
I'm not sure if you're still listening, but when you come back to listen to this, yeah, thank you so much for everything. Your fandom, is that the right word for that? Just the amount of enthusiasm you have for everything we do drives us to make sure that we're doing as good as we could. And the same, of course, for everybody, but Guy is very vocal about all of that sort of thing, and it's very, very appreciated. Majenica also says, it's like when Ratatouille eats the strawberry and the cheese at the same time. Flavor is great by itself, but adding other flavors makes something new. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Ratatouille comparison is perfect. Unexpectedly perfect. Yeah.
I want to be the cheese of the band. That's what I'm hoping for.
Anybody that's watched the making of videos, I would imagine, would probably agree that when we get to the Sam is recording.
Or would I be the seasoned beef or the lettuce?
You are pretty beefy, that's true, yeah. But you don't like lettuce, though,
That's
so
true.
it doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't know. I always look forward to that, too, just the goofy videos. You know what I mean? I enjoy putting videos in that. And by the way, we're not dead for anybody that we're allergic to cheese.
Oh, that's true. Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yes. For anybody that's a member of our AfterWinter, the Making of Paramnesia group on Facebook, and if you're not, you should be, we haven't posted in there much. And that is on purpose. We are deep into production of the second album, and we have been taking videos. We haven't been putting them in there. And if you guys want some more updates, we are happy to oblige. If you want some updates, by all means, tell us. Part of the reason that we're not posting very many updates is because of all of the promises that were made during the Paramnesia era, right? We know that you guys had to wait forever for that album, and there was a whole lot of, it's getting worked on, it'll be out sometime, it'll be soon, and then 4 years later we deliver on the promise. And I'm happy we were able to deliver on the promise, but we wanted to make less promises this time, essentially. You guys know it's being worked on, you know we work hard, and you know we usually take a while to do stuff. This one's going to take a lot less time. It absolutely will not take 4 years, but the idea appealed to me, at least, of us basically just dropping it and saying, here it is, it's done. Happy birthday, here it is. So there's a lot less suspense and anticipation than every week hearing, well, we got a little more done. It'll be a while, but it'll come out. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Dad says he's the peanut butter and bologna of the band. Yeah. That's for sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So this is a big album. By the way, if anybody in the chat does have any questions about anything on Paramnesia or anything about the band, by all means, we'd be happy to answer those. I think we're pretty much ready to wrap this thing up. But if you do have any questions, by all means. Justin says, I always go back and watch the making of videos after the final product comes out, so the music is as fresh as it can be the first time I hear it. Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. I still go back and watch, there's a lot of videos in that page. It was a carryover from the previous band, so all the making of stuff for the two big albums that we did with that band is still in there too, and I go back and watch that stuff. There's a lot of really, really good memories and really hilarious stuff in there, especially if you guys want to go back and search for Dad's series of campfire chat with a bass player. Was that what it was called?
I think so,
Something like that.
Those
or
are
fireside chat, or I can't remember.
Just amazing. All of them are amazing.
I like the Dad running me over in the van. That's a good one.
Yes. So good. Yeah. So I'm sure once we eventually get to album number 3, we'll probably go back to posting a lot more stuff. Savannah wants to be the plastic film off the cheese slices.
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah. Machinica says, am I now the only one in the band without a beard? Yeah. Yes, you are.
That's true.
You are.
You're one of the only remaining people with hair.
That's true. You know how weird it is that for a long time, everybody in AfterWinter that wasn't a Neely was bald.
That's true.
Until you shaved your head.
No.
The only non-Neelys were all bald.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to the courthouse to get my last name changed to Riggs here soon.
Yes. Dang it, James. That's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah. So, looking forward to the future, of course. I think it's been said a few times in the stream, but at least at the moment, never say never, but at the moment, AfterWinter has no intention of performing live, and that is largely on me. You know what I mean? It's just there's no point in going into it. We probably won't play live. Never say never. If the right offer came along and we were all available and able, of course, we would love to do that. Any opportunity to get out there and interact more with you guys is always amazing, of course. But no matter what, albums, you know what I mean? That's at least for me, that is my real passion in music, is the creative process of writing and recording more music. So that's kind of at the moment, that's the focus, unless something came along, you know what I mean? But I'm really looking forward to the future of everything. The second album is coming along really good. You guys, thoughts on album number 2 so far?
I think it's ripping. It's definitely... It's completely got a different feel than Paramnesia.
Yeah.
Because it's not a concept. It's more of the traditional kind of going. But I think it's definitely... that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know. How do you explain it? Like, if you had to explain this one, like, it's kind of rough because it's not as complicated as Paramnesia, but it's definitely swinging.
Still very prog.
Yeah, it's kind of like still complicated, but in like different ways.
Yeah.
Kind of like I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what people think of it.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that because it's definitely not. It's like it is more of the same in like certain regards,
Yeah.
but I'd say for the most part it'll be a very different type of experience.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
very
completely.
us still.
Yeah.
I think it'll be obvious it's the same band, but yeah.
Like
it's
delivered in a new way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, we'll see what happens for
It's more based
Album
around.
three.
I think this one's more based around what? Just structure of just your how most songs are structured, kind of.
a little bit more, yeah. I'll tell you one thing that we didn't aim ourselves at is shorter songs. Well, there aren't any 32-minute epics, but and some of these are. I'll say they're short. They're closer to the average, to the average length. There's at least one that's pretty short, but yeah, absolutely. I think it'll all make sense once it comes out. It's still very proggy and still very us.
Definitely has a lot of edge to it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Created in a different way too. You know what I mean? So the three of us, of course. And then for the second album, Eli was also there for I think all but one of the writing sessions, and that was neat too. Just having that extra, only 31-minute epics. That's right, Magenica. Yeah,
That's true.
exactly. With 32, that's too far. But 31 and 59 seconds, I think that's more the mark we're looking at now.
Yeah.
But
If only we'd have made that pause 1 second shorter. Can't believe it.
Just held the note just a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. So that brought a different aspect to it. And there are a few on there that I think people are very, very much not. Like song 7, I think people are not going to see that one coming at all.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm excited to see what people say about this. But it's been very interesting reading, the reviews so far of Paramnesia, as we kind of expected when we began the process. I think some of the people didn't understand what the intention was, I think. But still, just everybody that took the considerable time to sit and listen to this, very much appreciated. Because like we said, or like I said earlier, for me anyway, I'm just doing what I think I would want to hear, right? So anytime somebody else likes it, it's a huge boost. You know what I mean? Because I don't expect anybody else to like it. So it's always cool to hear that.
Yeah, I don't expect anybody else to even listen to it at all. So that's pretty neat.
Right. Yep. That was a carryover for me from Def Leppard. Actually, I remember in a documentary about Hysteria, they were talking about that. Like we poured our heart and soul into this, and we knew when we put it out that even if the whole world hated every second of it, that it wouldn't matter to us one bit because we loved it. And I remember hearing that when I was 12 or 13 or something, and thinking, yes, that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it right there. And I think, at least for me, I think we absolutely achieved that. There is not a single thing about this album that I would change, given the opportunity. Other than maybe we should have ordered 2 soft tacos.
Yeah. And, if I had the ability to change anything, I would probably fire and replace myself with Jordan Rudess. Probably. Might have made the album better, but...
Different bald guy.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to do everything I could to emulate the guy,
Yeah. Yes. So, I think unless you guys can think of anything else, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap this thing up. So, a huge thanks to all of you who are here watching this. This was a very long video, so thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out with us. And loved all the interaction in the comments. It's always nice, especially because we don't play out. This is kind of the only way that we get to interact with you guys. So really appreciate all of the support and the interaction. We're so thrilled that the album is finally out after just about 4 years of development. Glad that each and every one of you took the time to listen to it, and hope you all enjoyed it. And for all of you who have expressed positive things to us, we couldn't thank you possibly enough. It's a huge boost, of course, to getting the next thing out.
For sure. Is Taco Bell open this late?
Maybe. Maybe. I didn't get my radio fixed. What are we gonna sing this time?
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
All right, grab the Mac. We're
All
going.
right, let's do this thing. All right. James, any closing words? The mayor of the desert is a man of few words.
Mayor of the desert. I am the mayor of the desert.
Watch out for that camel. You see it coming, you go the other way.
Jeez, you're giving away the next concept.
Oh, crap.
Okay.
Right. Thanks one more time, guys, for tuning in. We hope to do some more stuff like this, especially if you guys are interested. I think it would be really interesting to do another one of these streams that's a similar idea, but with other members of the band as well, to get their thoughts. I'm sure Dad and Eli both have a lot of really interesting insights as well, the rhythm section, as it were, and then maybe we can get Jerry and Magenica in here. If that's not Paramnesia overload for anybody, that would be super cool to do. So if we do something like that, we'll see you then, and if not, we will see you when the second album stuff starts dropping. Lots of really cool stuff to be excited about on that. And until then, we will see you guys later. Bye. Yeah. Oh, crap. Now I have to reach forward and hit the end button.
Oh, yeah. Now it's just going to be awkward.
Crud.
All right, bye.
All right, now the real stream can begin. Jeez.
Okay.
That guy. Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back. We got it. All right, it's done now.